y'all this fine day. I hope that if you're here, you subscribe to this channel if you're not already, and you check out everything that's down below. We have a description box, a like button, a like button, a subscribe button. All the buttons are there. And shameless plug, part 2 of my Q&A is going to come soon. And if you want to ask a question that will be in that video, then go to the community tab and let me know what you want to know. And I randomly got this idea, as with most of these features, if you will, and I thought it would be just really helpful. I know for me, when I was just first kind of learning and discovering my neurodiversity, it wasn't necessarily the main bullet points of an autism or ADHD diagnosis that necessarily resonated with me in a more aha, profound kind of way. It was the things that were just part of my daily life thinking behavior that weren't necessarily mentioned in those types of diagnosis type of listicles that really made me step back and be a little in shock, because all the things kind of clicked together in the accumulation of so many different little things that I didn't otherwise think about. And a disclaimer here is that, neurodiversity is a vast spectrum, and if you don't have these traits, that doesn't mean anything. If you do have these traits, then maybe you want to look more into neurodiversity, but again, it's just kind of a place we can share these little quirks about ourselves. And the two that first came to mind with this were, one, since a very young age, which I can now consider stimming, but I always would specifically pick my nails, and if anything kind of grosses you out, sorry about that, but I would rip off the nail, fingernails or toenails. I would pick my skin, different points I would pick my hair, or try and pull it out. And those can be their own separate conditions, but the satisfaction from that, and I still can stim in that way of just picking or ripping something, it's so satisfying. And I think when I was younger, it was looked at as more of a bad habit to break, and I always could not break it, and I didn't know why. Turns out it's because it pleases my mind, my senses. And another one is that I've never had an issue with not drinking enough water. I couldn't understand how people would forget to drink water and just it would never cross their mind. Whereas I'm someone, I could always be drinking water. And I realize now that's because that's another form of stimming, that I always need some sort of sensory input with either drinking or eating or chewing. I always need that. So that means if it's a hard candy or a beverage, especially a bubbly beverage, I always need something to satisfy that. And I realize that now. I'm like, no wonder I'm so hydrated. That makes so much sense. Another thing, which I don't know if it's necessarily been like proven or not, but I've always heard that autistic people look younger. I don't know if there's a specific reason for that or if that is actually a thing, but I have seen that before. And I would consider that very accurate. Probably up to a few years ago, I could probably, which who knows, maybe I still am, but I could still be looked at as someone in middle school, or I would get a question of when I graduated high school, and yeah, I'm not that. Not that at all. In fact, I have no connection to age. Like, I've never felt, I don't know what it feels like to be an age. Like, I understand I'm in my 20s and that is supposed to designate something, but I could not tell you what it's like to feel young. I think it's usually been like, oh, you're like an old soul or something like that, whereas that can feel like I can go at both ends of the spectrum of like behaving and looking really young versus I feel so old. And that coincides with my own comfort in relationship, communication, anything like that, where it's much easier for me to be around people who are a lot younger or a lot older than me. My own age bracket tends to be a struggle. It tends to mystify me and whatever, probably because it deals more with actual social norms and things like that. And yeah, I could probably dive into so many more of having fruit snacks, putting piles in every color and having to eat them like one each color at a time. And just so many different things that are otherwise overlooked. And I just think it's really interesting to just chat about that and to connect and resonate with people in different ways that you thought was just like, oh, this is just a me thing. This is just a quirk I have that is kind of odd, but here we are. And turns out there's a reason for it. And in my opinion, that's reassuring. It's comforting to know that, you know, I'm not just doing these weird things, air quotes weird, and I don't know why. They're just there. So feel free in the comments below to either like share if you also relate to anything that I mentioned, or you have some other random things that you want to mention. Leave them down below. I think this is a fun time. So thanks for being here. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things. And I will see you all next time.